Welcome to the world of Zola Jesus and her new album, Arkhon. We spoke to Zola about the trials she went through creating this new music in these troubled times, and why she collaborated with Randall Dunn of Sun O and drummer extraordinaire Matt Chamberlain.
I don't even know how many records now. 7? I don't even know. But I made a lot of records, and throughout that journey, it's been a very lonely process of songwriting and producing, and I've always collaborated with people, but I had much more control over the final sound in a way. Like, I didn't really like people to put their fingerprints on the music too much. But this record, I just was really itching. I was just feeling like the process was feeling so lonely that I just intuitively felt like I wanted to reach out and have other people's creative input on the record, because it just would be more fun and more healing for me, and would allow me to step outside of the ego process of making an album and just be able to enjoy it with friends and collaborate and have fun and have it be this much more of an opening instead of a closing experience.
Gotcha. So why work with Randall and Matt? What made them the folks?
Well, I got to know Randall after I made my last record, A Covey, and we worked together. He would do sound for shows, but really we bonded over spiritual and emotional things. I was going through a really difficult period, and he was a friend that I would lean on during that time, and I really could trust him. And so it became really natural for me to want to collaborate with him specifically, because I felt very safe with him. I felt like he respected me and he understood me, and it just felt like everything aligned. And then, we kind of talked about wanting to make a record with a lot of drums and rhythm, and he's really good friends with Matt Chamberlain. And so Matt came on board, and then everything just kind of blossomed from there.
Cool. So the album opens with a tune called Lost, which, if I'm not mistaken, has a sample of a Slovenian folk choir involved in that. But it is kind of a dark beginning. Everyone I know is lost. Why did you choose to open the album with a track like that?
Everyone I know is lost.
Well, I think it sets the mood quite well. The record is quite like a journey through a very difficult period, both personally and collectively. Like, we went through a lot of intense, we moved through a lot of intensity the past couple of years, and so that I wanted that reflected in the record. And Lost, I think it made sense for me to open the record with that, because I feel like everyone I know is lost, and it's like a very like empathetic sort of thing. I don't know. Actually, I don't know why I opened the record with that. It just felt right.
That's a good enough answer right there. It's followed by The Fall, which has also been released, and you have a video with it and all that stuff. So, and you kind of added some kind of effect to your voice. Do you do that quite often?
I used to a lot when I was starting out, and then I got really into like not feeling like I was using effects as a crutch. So I kind of was really against vocal effects, or just for myself. And then, but then I just got more interested in picking them up and seeing how it can kind of like, just how I can manipulate my voice through effects.
Because you were classically trained, so obviously you have a certain amount of A, ability, and B, training going on there. So does your relationship with your voice change over the years? It sounds like it does.
Hugely, hugely, hugely. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, my whole like career in terms of Zola Jesus has been a journey of rehabilitating my relationship with my voice, resenting my voice, trying to change it, and then accepting it. And I think I finally accepted it. But so much of my inner whatever I'm going through that I haven't like reconciled or dealt with like psychologically comes out through my voice to the extent where some days I can't even sing, some days all I can do is sing. So the voice is like for me a gauge for my emotional health, and it's been really interesting to see that reflected in all of the music that I've made.
Well, you're sounding pretty healthy here. I know that the tune Desire, you did that in like a single take. Does that happen often?
Desire, oh desire, storm of the heart, storm of the heart.
Not really, no, because I'm very much a perfectionist, so I usually will make one mistake and then just need to start everything all over again.
Right.
But with this, it was much more focused on the performance and really just like allowing whatever it is to just exist and be without having to feel like it needs to be quote unquote perfect.
Now the album is titled Archon. Am I correct? Is correct in
Yep.
pronouncing that? So what does that mean to you? The word.
Archon, well, I'm referring to the Gnostic Archons.
Right.
Gnosticism is like a mystic sect of Christianity that believes that the world was made as a mistake,
Right.
and that the humanity has been led astray by these things called Archons, which are these evil forces that push humanity further from like a harmonious life and path. And I just felt like we're living in very archonic times right now. The Archons are really like steering us into the ground.
Yep.
and so it just felt like the right title for a record that was made in 2020, 2021 and coming out in 2022.
Yeah, I definitely feel you there.
Yeah.
And do you consider yourself a political animal? I know you, if I'm not mistaken, your cousin is Amy Klobuchar, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never met her. It's a distant cousin, but and I never used to feel like I've gone and ebbed and flowed of feeling political, but I think more than anything, like I really I guess I'm political in a sense where like I have an ideal for the way the world should be, as we all do. And
Right.
I get very frustrated when the world looks like the opposite of that. Like it feels wrong. Like our current world feels very wrong in so many ways. And so that makes me political,
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on. I mean, you're in the States, and we all
Yeah.
know what's going on there. And then,
Oh, it's wild.
and then there's the Ukrainian-Russian thing going on, which I'm sure you kind of feel something about because that's kind of your where you're from. So,
Yeah.
is that all? If you're making a record now rather than 2 years ago, how would that affect what you're doing now? Do you think?
The Ukrainian war or
Well,
just in
just
general?
the
Everything?
generally what's going on. You can pick
Yeah.
and choose, I guess.
Well, I mean, I wrote the record through COVID, through the Trump
Right.
Biden election,
Yep.
through Bernie Sanders losing the nomination, which was heartbreaking for me.
Yep. Same here.
And yep, and then also the Ukrainian conflict was mounting, and the quote unquote insurrection, the Capitol riots happening,
Yep.
like the George Floyd protests, like. This record was written in that very fervent period when there was so much upheaval and turmoil, and every day that I woke up, I wasn't sure. Like I was afraid to look at the news because I was like,
Right.
"What
Yeah.
is it today?"
Yep.
And so, the record is mired in our times, and I think if I made the record today, it would. I don't think we're out of the woods quite yet, far from it. So, I think it would still be quite treacherous.
Cool. So with making this record as a collaboration with Randall and Matt, has that kind of changed the way you think about yourself as an artist now, or has it had any lasting effect, do you think?
Definitely. I mean, I think I, especially throughout COVID and not being able to tour, not being able to work on music, not being able to be a musician, I really kind of leveled my identity in a way where I stopped identifying as a musician. And so it became easier for me to see music as this thing that is a deep passion of mine, but that my ego and like my identity isn't like totally like wrapped up in it. And
Mm-hmm.
so collaborating allowed me to just like really open that up and just enjoy the pleasure of making music with people that are also very talented and that I respect. And I just want to do that more and more. Like it really awakened, like it awakened my soul in a way that I haven't felt in a long time making music.
So when the three of you were working together, did you take on specific roles about how you approached everything, or was it more of let's just try this, let's just try that? How did the process work for you guys?
It was really collaborative. I mean, I came with songs
Right?
mostly. There's one song, Stone, on the record was a collaboratively written song, but all the other songs, I came with demos that had different levels of finishedness.
Right?
And from there, we just tackled the songs. It was mostly Randall and I, and then we'd hit up Matt and say, "Hey, can you give us a drum beat?" And then he would send us something back that would totally change the song. And we're like, "Oh, this is a new song now. Okay, cool." And then would kind of go back to the drawing room and add more, change more. So they all started from my home studio by myself, but then the journey that each song took was different based on where we thought the potential was, and we just let everything happen really naturally in that way.
Cool. And you have somebody named Louise Woodward doing some string things for you?
Yeah, Louise Woodward, who's from Melbourne, Australia.
Oh,
I met her. Yeah, I met
just
her.
across the pond?
Yeah,
Across the ditch.
I know. I miss it. I miss it down there. We did a show together at the Melbourne Recital Center, and she was just such a pleasure to work with. I asked her to come on tour with me,
Right.
and she did. And I just love her so much and think she's so talented that when I was working on one of my songs, I asked her to contribute an arrangement for a song I had written, and it was beautiful, of course. Like I would expect nothing less from her.
Right.
But yeah, such a joy working with friends.
Yep. So I assume she worked on Dead and Gone with you.
Yep, that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yep. And what can you tell me about the song itself?
When everything is dead and gone, will you still be the one? When faces fade from memory banks, will you still be the one?
The song Dead and Gone is about the end of a relationship, and it was very personal. It's a very personal, like a lot of these songs are very personal to the
Sure.
point where it's almost like hard for me to finish them or make
Right.
objective decisions about them because they're so subjective. So having Louise involved in interpreting what I was going through, and she knew everything. She had been with me through all of this personal stuff. And so it was kind of a relief to have someone that understood the context to help me just interpret it, because it was like almost too close to home for me at some point. I'm just happy. I'm excited to go back out on the road. I'm nervous about COVID, nervous about the realities now. Everything's changed. Gas prices are so much higher. Inflation is such a problem. Touring is going to be a lot more challenging in so many ways, but I'm really
Yep.
excited to just get back out there into the world.
Yep. Should be. It's a different place out there now, I think. I mean, I
Yeah.
haven't ventured much outside of Auckland lately, but I'm hoping to go back to the States later this year. It'll be interesting to see what it's like.
You're in a nice citadel in the meantime.
Yeah. Well, it does feel like that sometimes. Yeah. So, anyway, all righty, very good. So, thank you very much for sharing all that with me. I really appreciate it, and hope that the album does well for you.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it.